The Supreme Court was ready to weigh in on whether a lawsuit for damages could include people who were never hurt alongside those who actually suffered harm, but then it decided not to decide. After agreeing to hear the case, the justices dismissed it as improvidently granted and sent it back without ruling on the question. That means there's still no clear answer on whether a class action can pack together injured and uninjured members under the federal rules. Justice Brett Kavanaugh disagreed with that move and wrote a dissent. He would have liked the court to tackle the issue head-on. What this all means is that lower courts and companies are still left guessing about how to handle these mixed classes in big lawsuits. Nine Robes uses non-partisan, everyday language to focus on the facts of what the Supreme Court is saying. Here, you'll find clear, concise summaries of every Supreme Court opinion, stripped of legalese and clickbait headlines. Each post breaks down the facts, explains the court's reasoning, and highlights the crucial details that often go unnoticed. It's not just about what the court decided. It's about why those decisions matter, to give you a deeper understanding of the cases that define our nation's legal landscape. These summaries are generated by AI. Be careful and consult reputable sources when in doubt. Corp, a national diagnostic laboratory provider, installed touchscreen e-check-in kiosks in its California patient centers. Because these kiosks weren't accessible to blind or visually impaired patients, several legally blind individuals sued Corp. They claimed the company denied them full and equal enjoyment of services under the Americans with Disabilities Act and California's Unruh Civil Rights Act. The plaintiffs sought to certify a statewide class action that could potentially seek damages up to $500 million per year. This class would include all legally blind patients who, due to their disability, were unable to use the kiosks. Corp challenged the class certification, arguing that the definition included people who weren't actually harmed, specifically blind individuals who wouldn't have used the kiosks anyway due to personal preference or habit. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals allowed the class to proceed, applying its precedent that permits classes that potentially include more than a de minimis number of uninjured class members. Corp then asked the Supreme Court to review whether a damages class action can include both injured and uninjured members. In a brief per curiam by the court order, the Supreme Court dismissed the case as improvidently granted, meaning they decided not to rule on the issue after all. The court provided no analysis of either the procedural questions or the class certification issues, leaving the Ninth Circuit's judgment intact without addressing the merits. Justice Kavanaugh dissented from the dismissal. He argued that the case should not have been dismissed on procedural grounds. He rejected the plaintiff's argument that Corp appealed the wrong certification order, noting that the later clarification order didn't materially change the original certification. On the merits, Justice Kavanaugh believed that the federal rules governing class actions prohibit certifying a damages class that includes both injured and uninjured members. He argued that a class of uninjured individuals cannot share a common injury, which conflicts with several previous Supreme Court decisions. Allowing overly broad class certifications forces defendants into settlements and ultimately imposes costs on consumers, retirees, and workers by inflating liability exposure. He would have reversed the Ninth Circuit's decision. This case highlights a tension in class action law about who can be included in a lawsuit seeking damages. Three key legal frameworks are at play. 1. The ADA and California's Unruh Act both require businesses to provide full and equal access to people with disabilities. The Unruh Act allows for $4,000 in damages per violation, regardless of actual harm suffered. 2. Federal class action rules require that common questions predominate over individual ones before a damages class can proceed. This requirement aims to ensure class treatment is both convenient and fair. 3. Federal rules allow immediate appeals of class certification decisions because certifying large classes with potentially uninjured members can create enormous liability risks and pressure to settle regardless of the merits. The Ninth Circuit's approach allows certification even when more than a small number of class members may lack any injury, as long as some evidence of injury exists for others. Justice Kavanaugh viewed this exception as incompatible with class action rules and Supreme Court precedents, which he believes require each class member to share a common injury. This case reflects the ongoing challenge of balancing the need to address widespread discrimination through class actions while preventing overly broad certifications that might lead to unfair settlements or violate defendants' due process rights. Find us online at 9robes.ai. That's the number 9robes.ai. Like and share this podcast with friends that like to be informed. 9 Robes provides AI summaries of U.S. Supreme Court cases. AI makes mistakes. People make mistakes too. We genuinely do our best to provide you with the most accurate summaries, but our best sometimes includes errors.